ASU Center for Biodiversity Outcomes was established to find and research pragmatic solutions to the extinction of species. Founding Director Leah Gerber joins us now to talk more about all this. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining. This is very interesting now. Before we get to the species, again, the Center for Biodiversity Outcomes. Did I get that right? Is that basically what this center does?
Indeed, and thanks for having me.
Sure.
Yes, the Center for Biodiversity Outcomes, we launched about a year ago, so we've just celebrated our one-year anniversary. And the idea of the center is to bring together the scholarship from across campus at ASU to cultivate novel solutions and innovation in the realm of biodiversity and conservation. And then secondly, to bring that scholarship to decision makers and natural resource managers.
So basically, and we talk about a pragmatic approach to extinction. Let's get a definition there. Extinction's a very volatile, emotional kind of a thing. How can you be pragmatic about it?
Well, it is very emotional and volatile, but the data suggests that we actually are currently experiencing the sixth mass extinction on Earth, and that is largely due to anthropogenic impacts or human impacts. The rates of extinction are unprecedented. For example, about 40% of amphibians are endangered, 25% of mammals. And there's a growing list of these endangered species. And the question is, what do we want our world to look like? Which species do we want to prioritize? What are the criteria that we should use?
Indeed, it sounds, and judging from what I've read about your program, the working premise is you can't save everything. That's tough stuff there.
Indeed, indeed. So, in fact, one of the arguments that I make in this case is that by not deciding or not being deliberate about what type of biodiversity we want, we're implicitly making decisions. And so what I'm arguing for is a sort of transparent framework to think about these choices. Do we want to make decisions based on functional role in the ecosystem or level of charisma or what's most cost effective? There are many sets of criteria that we could use, and the agencies responsible for implementing recovery for many listed species, for example, in the U.S., the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as well as the National Marine Fisheries Service are responsible for these listing decisions and protective measures, but with federal budget cuts and an increasing number of species on the list, they are severely understaffed, and it's sort of like drinking out of a fire hose. So the question is, what strategy can they take to make these decisions in an efficient and transparent way? And
I would imagine the quicker the choice, the quicker the action, you actually save more as opposed to sitting around not sure what to do.
That's a very interesting point. And in fact, in the field of ecology and conservation science, there's something known as the small population paradigm versus the large declining population paradigm. And that is, we tend to manage it for crises. When something's on the brink of extinction, we funnel all of the resources towards that, when in fact we might achieve better outcomes by sort of looking ahead and trying to take protective measures a bit before we're facing that crisis.
And I notice as well, one of the keys is educating decision makers about this. Decision makers in government, decision makers in business, getting them involved in the process. Stakeholders, basically, correct?
Indeed. And in fact, that's largely the motivation for launching this new center at ASU. I've been at ASU for 14 years, and in the standard model, even though we are an amazing new American university, within academia, we tend to stay in our silos and get very specific in our levels, our areas of expertise. And so my motivation was to think, what innovative solutions can we sort of support and cultivate through new ways of thinking about this question of facing extinction? And then second, wow, we have this amazing capacity within the campus, within our expertise that can actually be applied in these settings with non-governmental organizations like the Nature Conservancy, often having to make decisions quickly that are huge scale decisions about nature's capital. federal agencies, international government organizations, and even corporations.
And because it's involved with the university here, getting students out to conduct methodology, these sorts of things.
Yes, that is another exciting dimension of our center, and that is that part of the aspiration is to train future generations in doing this in a way that it works. And that involves not just sitting in the lab and learning taxonomy, but it also involves being able to communicate to stakeholders and being able to reach a diverse realm of constituents in what is nature, what is biodiversity.
Right.
A lot of people don't even know.
Well, and back to the pragmatic aspect and having to make choices, I can tell you when I hear about, tigers, 98% of tigers are gone. When I hear that there's like 4 northern white rhinos left in the world, I want them saved. I mean, but is there a formula that says maybe it's better to save the flycatcher than the tiger?
I think it's very. As humans, I think I have the same reaction. Mm-hmm. I don't think I could, and probably most decision makers, I don't think would be explicit and say let's let it go. I mean, first of all, legally we're required by the Endangered Species Act to prevent extinction, but I think we need to think more deliberately about, in those cases, can any amount of money or any conservation action recover it, or do we think more strategically and possibly shift the funding that is going towards those lost causes towards those species for which we can actually have an impact. I think the estimate, if you look at the estimated cost for implementing recovery actions for all listed species in the US, it's approximately $2 billion per year. We're spending only about half of that. So assuming they need these actions to recover, we might think about shifting that to better achieve our goals.
Well, there's plenty to think about, and it sounds like a lot of thinking's going on over there at the campus and the biodiversity outcomes. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.